There is something about the way you think that people can't quite explain, but they feel it. And right now, there is someone in your life or around your energy who is deeply drawn to you because of it. Not just because of how you look, or not just because of your presence, but because of how your mind works. This person has seen attractive people before. They have experienced the chemistry before. They have had conversation before. But what they haven't experienced often is depth that feel natural, and that's where you stand out. For a long time, this person operated in a more surface level world. They chased what looked good. They entertained what felt exciting in the moment. They engaged in connections that had spark but no substance. And over time, that started to wear on them. Because even though everything looked right on the outside, something always felt off underneath. There was no real alignment, no real understanding, no sense of being truly seen. And that kind of pattern leaves a mark. It makes a person step back. It makes them question what they actually want. It makes them invest more in themselves instead of chasing something that keeps disappointing them. So that's what they did. They pulled back. They focused on their own growth. They started becoming more aware of what matters to them, not just what attracts them. As they grew, their standards changed. But here is the part no one talks about. As your standards become more refined, your options become fewer. Not because something is wrong, but because you are no longer entertained by what once distracted you. So this person reached a point where they almost gave up on finding something meaningful. Not in a dramatic way, just quietly. They accepted. Maybe it's just not out there. And then they met you, or noticed you, or crossed the path with you in a way that made them pause. At first, they didn't fully understand it. They had assumptions about you. They projected past experience onto you. They thought this is probably going to be like everything else. But then you spoke and something shifted. Because the things you say don't sound rehearsed. They don't sound like you are trying to impress. They don't sound like you are following a script. You speak from understanding, from experience, from a place that most people don't access in everyday conversation. And what caught them off guard is this. You started expressing thought they have had, but never full put into words. You said things they felt, but couldn't articulate. You connected ideas in a way that made them think, wait, how do they see it like that? And that's when curiosity turned into interest. Interest turned into attention, and the attention slowly turned into something deeper. Now they find themselves paying attention to you in a way they haven't done in a long time. Not obsessively, not in an unhealthy way, but intentional. They notice what you say. They notice how you respond. They notice how you move. And what confuses them the most is this. They don't fully understand why they are so drawn to you. Because on the surface, they might tell themselves it's your personality, or your presence, or even your appearance. But deep down is your mind. You don't process things like an average person. You don't react the same way. You don't engage in a shallow dynamics. You see patterns. You think beyond the obvious. You speak in a way that makes people reflect without trying. And for someone who has spent a long time surrounded by surface level connections, that's feel rare. So now they are in a position they didn't expect to be in. They feel drawn to you. They feel comfortable with you. They feel like they can understand you and be understood by you. But they haven't said anything. Not because they don't want to, but because you intimidate them in a quiet way. You don't come across as aggressive. You don't come across as unapproachable. But your energy carries a certain standard. When people are around you, they feel like they need to be real. They feel like they can't fake it. They feel like they have to show up as their actual self. And for someone who is still figuring things out internal, that can feel like pressure. Even though you make them comfortable in conversation, taking the next step feels like a risk to them because they don't want to get it wrong. They don't want to misread you. They don't want to disrupt something that feels different. So instead, they observe. They stay close enough to understand you, but not close enough to expose themselves full. And here's the interesting part. Some of you already know exactly who this person is. You have felt the subtle attention. You have noticed the way they listen, the way they respond, the way they seem slightly more engaged with you than with others. And some of you have no idea because you are focused on your own path. You are focused on your growth. You are not scanning the room for who is watching you. But if you stepped back for a moment and looked at your environment from a wider perspective, you would likely notice them. But because they are consistent in their presence, consistent in their attention, and even if they are not vocal about it. And what's important to understand is this isn't just attraction, this is recognition. They recognize something in you that they haven't seen before, not just in others, but sometimes even within themselves. They see you as someone they can learn from, someone who challenges their thinking, someone who brings clarity without forcing it. And even if nothing romantic comes from it, they still value your presence because in their experience, people have often taken more than they have given. But with you, they feel like there is something different, something balanced, something real. And that's rare enough. And now, here's where this connects back to you. All the work you have been doing on yourself, it's showing. Not in loud ways, not in ways you are trying to prove, but in subtle, undeniable shifts. Your awareness, your communication, your image, your boundaries, your mindset. It's all aligning in a way that natural filters people. And yes, this does make things harder in some ways because not everyone can meet you where you are. Not everyone can understand you. Not everyone will feel comfortable stepping into your space. But the people who do, they don't forget it. So even if you are not actively looking for connection right now, even if you are focused on your own journey, even if you feel like you are moving alone, just understand this: you are not unnoticed. The way you think, the way you see things, the way you move through the world, it's reaching people quietly, powerfully, in a way you don't always see in a real time. And for someone out there right now, that way of thinking is exactly what drew them in, even if they don't fully understand why.